Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the next edition of the Collective Energy Balance. This one is coming to you at the new moon in October 2024. Even though I usually bring these to you at the full moon, we have an annular solar eclipse at this new moon. So it's a special edition this month. There will be another one in a couple of weeks' time, so tune in for that at the full moon. But the reason I am bringing these during eclipse times as an extra as well is because eclipses are they're such potent transformational points. You know, it's when those things that have been eclipsed in us, they've been hidden, start coming to the surface. You know, it's these major transition points, big karmic releases. So, you know, on a collective level as well as on a personal level, I just felt to bring some tools that can support you during this transition. So as we are right now in Libra season, we have just entered into Libra season, which was about a week ago. We had the spring equinox for us in the Southern Hemisphere, the Libra equinox, which marked that transition into Libra season. And for us here in the Southern Hemisphere, you know, we were at the spring equinox. We've just passed through the spring equinox, and the equinox is the time when day and night are of equal length for just a short while. And we have now crossed the threshold of the spring equinox, which means for us, our days will start becoming longer than the night. So we have passed that halfway point from the winter solstice to the summer solstice. Not that we're down here in Victoria quite having the beautiful spring days that you would hope at this time of year, but you know, we do get a sense of the days being a little bit warmer and certainly getting longer. So that is the transition point that we are traveling through at the moment. And as far as being in Libra season, the themes to do with Libra are really, it's to do with our relationships. You know, Libra is really about justice and balance and equity. And so, you know, particularly in our relationships, you know, when the shadow side of Libra is playing out, there can be a lot of self-sacrifice, trying to please others. There can be a lot of, you know, people pleasing in general, you know, not putting your needs first, that kind of thing. So if we consider that we're having an eclipse during Libra season, we can expect themes around our relationships to be coming up. And chances are, because it is a new moons are like new beginnings, you know, it's setting new intentions, it's creating a new path for yourself. So it's probably likely that over the last year, 18 months, that you have encountered certain relationship dynamics that you know it's time to let go of. You know, you can see what's healthy and what's not healthy in your relationship dynamics, and it's time to set new boundaries for yourself, set new intentions about what you truly deserve and how you deserve to be in a relationship. And remember, this is not just our relationship with others, it's about our relationship with ourselves. You know, we have relationships with our work, with you know, our sense of rest even, you know, we have relationships in all these different areas of our life. I would say our primary relationship is with ourselves, and then of course our loved ones. So, you know, and our loved ones do reflect back to us really a great deal about our relationship to ourselves. So, you know, at this time, I'd really invite you to take responsibility for any external relationship dynamic that has been playing out for you, you know, and just have a look at if what's been playing out for you out there is kind of how you have set the bar for yourself in here. So, you know, your relationship with yourself, if you've not been treated great by people out there, you know, is it because that's what you feel that you deserve? Is it because that's the way you actually treat yourself? So, you know, just being aware of those dynamics in relationship. And now is the time to be brutally honest with yourself. Because the reality is, you know, it's time for change. So why not be honest? Why not take responsibility and go, right, I can see how I've allowed this to happen because of how I treat myself. So take a stand, you know, and know that you deserve better. So start with that part of your relationship with yourself. And on that note, I'm not going to talk too much. I like to keep these kind of short. The last one was quite long, so I just want to keep them kind of short so it's accessible. It's something easy to just listen to and you get a great tool to work with in the end. So let's jump into the kinesiology part of it. And I will ask the collective energy what we need to know and what we can do to support ourselves at this time and with this whole relationship, balance, equity, new dynamics in relationship kind of theme going on. So what do we need to know? Okay. Great. So I'm just looking at my beautiful New Earth I Ching book by Bobby Klein. And I mean, if you've never experienced the wonderful Bobby Klein, he is now on the other side of this human existence. But he is an amazing, beautiful soul who used to put out weekly I Ching information on Spotify. I think they're still available. And for those of you who are into human design, the I Ching relates to the 64 gates of human design. So he was one of the first people that sort of brewed my interest in human design. And this was many years ago. And he put out a beautiful book, the New Earth I Ching. So if the I Ching or the gates of human design happen to be something you want to learn more about, he has absolutely incredible wisdom. Either look him up on Spotify or check out his book. I'm sure it's available somewhere. But we want something from from this book, from the I Ching number 39 or gate 39 if we're talking human design. And so what you missed or may have forgotten is that some old emotional obstacles still exist. Not only do they exist, as you have evolved and gained strength, so have the obstacles. You will find that the ego is trying to make it seem like these blocks are enormous. So big you'd better dive under the covers and hide, or better yet, says the ego, cut and run. So consider that information and see where, I guess, these obstacles that you have potentially overlooked, that perhaps you have suppressed, that have been painful, and you've gone, you know what, I don't want to feel that right now, and you've pushed it aside. And it doesn't mean that they're gone, but they still keep playing out energetically, hence why you've been attracting into you these particular dynamics in relationships. So right now, the energy is saying that you'll find that the ego, that is your ego, is trying to make it seem like these blocks are absolutely enormous. So I have seen this play out with many people around me lately. Some people are going, I don't want to deal with this. You know, dive under the covers. They're getting, there's a lot of overwhelm going on, you know, people are really overwhelmed with all the emotions and the dynamics that are coming up. It's been quite intense. And then the other option, of course, is to cut and run. It says, I don't want a piece of this, don't even go there. And it's kind of like the fight or flight response, isn't it? You know, the only thing that's playing out here is that there's the flight and there's the freeze. And ultimately, they're both survival responses. So in this moment, I invite you to not fall into the survival response, to know that the sooner that you can be with the feelings, the sooner that you can let them go, you know, and move through them. They literally start to wash through you when you allow yourself to be with them. So let's see what we can do to support the being with and how you can help release them without running away or just feeling overwhelmed by them. All right. So I'm being directed to an acupoint on the heart meridian. Okay. So the heart meridian runs, it starts under our armpit and it runs down to our little finger. Now, the one that we're being directed to is actually heart 3. So we have 1, 2, 3. And if it was warm enough, I'd actually have a t-shirt on. It'd be easier to show you. Let's see if I can pull my my sleeve up enough. There we go. So if you crease your elbow, if you bend your elbow, and where the crease ends, just literally at the end of that, if you imagine drawing a dot, dot, dot at the end of that crease, oh, mine's a bit painful, you will come across heart 3. And it's just basically, I'm going to use my technical term, the knobbly bit of your bone. Is that the ulna? My technicalities sometimes, look, I feel the energy. I'm not always that technical about things, but basically your knobbly bit, just above the knobbly bit at the base of the indentation there of the crease, you'll feel a little space, and just have a bit of a play around with it. Yours might be a bit tender as well. If you're not sure, you can use your whole thumb to rub the whole area, but basically giving that a little bit of a rub, and even just give it a little bit of a rub and then hold it, just holding that space so that we welcome the energy flow to that point. And I'm going to read some information about that point. So actually, I should have checked that first. Whichever arm you've gone to, I want you now to go to your left arm and find that same point. So find the crease and go to the end of the crease and just above your knobbly bit. Give it a little rub for a moment, and then just holding that point, allowing the energy flow to come to that point while I tell you a little bit about the energy of this acupoint. So it's called the little inner C, or the lesser C. This energy release point nourishes the heart and calms the mind from the internal generalized pressure originating from repressed desires or unfulfilled desires. So already it's what we're talking about, you know, this pressure originating from repressed desires, so that which we've put to our subconscious, or unfulfilled desires. And when we're talking the heart meridian, you know, it's going to be an area where we're holding pain. So just feel into, you know, what feels unfulfilled, or, you know, let's use the word disappointed, where you feel disappointed about recent relationship dynamics, and where you can see how that has caused a wound for you or brought up old wounds for you. And just allow yourself to hold this point and just acknowledge these wounds, acknowledge these unfulfilled desires, acknowledge these disappointments and the sadness that might be held within you. And chances are you might even see several times that this is played out, you know, and which is an indication of a repressed emotion, because when it's playing out again and again, it's actually asking for you to heal it. So we're going to work with this collective energy now to heal that within yourself, to heal this in the collective, so that you don't have to keep going through this, so that we can actually create a new dynamic, healthy dynamics in relationships where you are being honored, where you are elevating your self-worth to allow others to honor that within you. So this particular point brings wisdom, depth, peace, and inner tranquility. Unblocking and activating this energy release point assists in creating the space and circumstances that allow for great things to come together, bringing to fruition an unlimitedness, it's a great word, the manifestation of desires with utmost simplicity. So, if you think of that unfulfilled desire or that disappointment, what would be the opposite of that? Like, what do you actually want? How do you want to feel in your relationships instead of that? Let's just focus on that for a moment while you're holding this point. Let's focus on the possibility. You know, again, when we have these old dynamics, we have this old energy in us, and that's sometimes what we feel, what we're familiar with, what we focus on. So focusing on it actually just magnifies that energy and draws more of that in. So let's focus on the new dynamic you want to create in relationship. Feel into the new way of being in relationship, the new way of being honored that you really deserve. And think of what actions you need to actually take to make that happen? Is it about speaking up more for yourself? Is it about setting clearer boundaries? Is it about making sure that you honor your needs and that you are not going into people pleasing or self-sacrificing? You know, so feel into what dynamic has to shift within you first and foremost to set up that new dynamic in a relationship, you know. And I guess when we really recognize that, you know, if we go into a relationship and we see that dynamic's playing out, then we are already ready to start setting new boundaries, to start, you know, setting a new way of being that actually is how you want to be and not just fall into old habits. So just feel into what you can do and how you might be able to start shifting that dynamic, and feel into what that would be like, you know, how that would be. There might be vulnerabilities in creating a new way of being as well, or speaking up. And just know it's usually the first 1 or 2, 3 times maybe that vulnerability is there. Once you set that in motion, it becomes a really empowered feeling. It moves from the vulnerability to an empowerment. So trust in that, try it, and see what evolves from that. Okay, so one more thing that we need to bring in to today is let me see, this is from a human design book. Love human design, that is one of my babies. I'll be bringing out some more videos in future months about human design. I haven't got there yet, but what do we need to know? This is why I love kinesiology. I didn't, you know, consciously choose this, but the collective is saying this is what we need to hear from this book, this page number, The Magic of Kinesiology, or Craziology as some people call it. All right, so this is the words of wisdom for you moving forward from here at this eclipse, after this eclipse, to shift dynamics that we've talked about. Anything and everything you do and receive must be new and improved. You can even enter personal and business relationships with this mindset and exit them with choice remarks as, "You won't do better than me." You are, in your own eyes, the greatest thing since sliced bread. Don't you forget it. And remember that and draw on that. And see, healing can be fun. It doesn't have to be all serious, because you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that is definitely the most amazing words of wisdom for you to take forward at this eclipse. Wishing you many blessings.